SingleDad was fixing his truck when twin girls ran to him, crying, "Mama's not waking up." Mark wiped the grease off his hands and squinted at the stubborn engine. Saturday mornings were usually for fixing trucks and pretending he knew what he was doing. But today, peace was shattered by the sound of tiny feet pounding on the gravel driveway. "Daddy, Daddy!" Mark's heart skipped. Turning around, he saw Lily and Emma, his 7-year-old twin daughters, their faces streaked with tears. "Mama's not waking up," they sobbed in unison. In a flash, the wrench slipped from his hand. Everything else, grease, oil, trucks, mattered less than the panic in their voices. He dropped to his knees, pulling them close. Okay, stay with me. Show me where she is." They led him inside, tiny hands shaking as they pointed toward the bedroom. Their mother, Sarah, lay on the bed, unusually pale, her morning coffee untouched on the nightstand. She wasn't breathing normally, and fear clawed at Mark's chest. Without a second thought, he dialed 911, while the dispatcher guided him. Through CPR, Mark's hands trembled as he followed instructions. His daughters sat nearby, holding each other, their small voices whispering prayers. Minutes felt like hours. And then, the faintest cough. Sarah's eyes fluttered open, confusion turning to recognition. "Mark, girls," she murmured. Relief crashed over him like a tidal wave. The paramedics arrived, and after a thorough check, confirmed she was okay. She had slipped into a diabetic coma, a danger they hadn't realized could hit so suddenly. Once they were gone, Mark scooped his daughters into his arms. "You were both so brave. Mama's okay because of you." Emma looked up at him, tears still in her eyes. "We thought we'd lost her forever." Mark hugged them tightly. Sometimes, the scariest moments show us what really matters. And sometimes, helping isn't about knowing everything. It's about acting, loving, and being there when it counts. That evening, the little family sat together on the porch. The sunset painted the sky in shades of pink and gold. Lily leaned her head against Mark's shoulder. "Daddy, you were like a hero today." Mark smiled, feeling the warmth of the moment. "Not me," he said softly. "All of us. That's what family does. We look out for each other, even when it's scary." As laughter and quiet chatter filled the yard, Mark realized something profound. Life was unpredictable, frightening at times, but acts of love, big or small, had the power to heal, protect, and remind us of our humanity. And in that simple, ordinary evening, surrounded by the people he loved most, he felt a deep, unshakable hope. Sometimes heroes aren't in capes. Sometimes they're just dads, holding their daughters' hands, fixing trucks, and never letting go. The next few days were a whirlwind. Mark stayed home from work to care for Sarah, making sure she had her medications on time and that the house was safe for the girls. The twins were quieter now, more cautious, but every so often, they would run up to him, throw their arms around his legs and whisper, "Daddy, thank you for saving Mama." One afternoon, as Mark worked on fixing a leak in the kitchen sink, Lily and Emma hovered nearby, coloring quietly at the table. "Daddy," Emma said softly, "can we help you next time?" Mark chuckled, wiping his hands. "Next time, you help by calling me as soon as something feels wrong, okay? That's the most important part." But deep down, he knew they were already learning something more profound, about courage, about caring, and about how one act of love can ripple through everyone's life. A week later, Sarah was up and walking again, her strength returning. That evening, she surprised Mark with a simple dinner on the porch. Lanterns swayed in the gentle breeze, and the girls ran barefoot across the yard, their laughter filling the warm autumn air. "Mark," Sarah said, taking his hand, "I don't know what I would have done without you. Without all of you." Mark shook his head, smiling. "You don't have to think about that. We're a team, remember? Family sticks together. That's all that matters." The girls climbed onto his lap, snuggling between him and their mother. "We're never leaving you guys," Lily whispered. Mark kissed the top of their heads, feeling a gratitude so deep it almost brought him to tears. Life was fragile, unpredictable, and sometimes terrifying. But in that fragility, there was love, courage, and resilience. And in that simple, ordinary porch scene, Mark realized something even more powerful. Kindness and selflessness didn't have to be dramatic or heroic. They were in the small moments. The act of stopping what you're doing to help someone, the courage to stay calm when fear strikes, the choice to love even when it's scary. From that day forward, the twins often helped Mark with little chores, learning the meaning of responsibility and compassion. And sometimes, when the evening sky blazed with color, Mark would glance at his family and think, heroes aren't made in the spotlight. They're made in the heart, in the moments we choose to care. And in the glow of that quiet heroism, the family felt invincible, held together not by perfection, but by love, kindness, and the knowledge that they would always face life's challenges together. The following week, life settled into a new rhythm. Mark found himself waking up earlier, checking Sarah's sugar levels and making breakfast for the girls before school. Even the simplest moments, pouring cereal, tying shoelaces, or brushing hair, felt precious now that he had glimpsed how quickly everything could change. One afternoon, Mark sat in the garage wiping grease from his hands after tinkering with the old truck. Lily and Emma peeked around the doorway, hesitant. "Daddy, can we help this time?" Lily asked. Mark smiled, setting down the wrench. "You two are already helping. Just by being brave, you saved your mom." Emma tilted her head. "But next time, we want to do more, like real helpers." Mark chuckled, pulling them close. "Okay, next time we all work together. That's the kind of team I like." Over the next few days, Mark noticed little changes in his daughters. They were more cautious, yes, but also more compassionate. They helped Sarah bring laundry from the dryer, reminded her to rest, and even comforted each other when a small scrape or disappointment hit. One evening, the family gathered on the porch, the air crisp and quiet. Sarah leaned against Mark, smiling softly, while the twins ran barefoot across the yard, laughing as they chased shadows in the fading light. "Mark," Sarah said, her voice gentle, "I don't know how we'd have managed without you. You were calm when we were terrified. You were brave for all of us." Mark shook his head. "I wasn't brave. I just didn't stop loving you. That's all it takes sometimes, caring enough to act, even when you're scared." Lily and Emma climbed onto his lap, giggling. "Daddy," Lily said, "you were like a superhero." Mark ruffled their hair. "Not a superhero, just your dad. But the thing about family, every single one of you has a little bit of superhero in you. You showed it the moment you ran to me that day." The twins snuggled closer, and Mark felt a quiet, steady warmth spread through him. Life was fragile, unpredictable, even terrifying at times. But in those terrifying moments, there was love, there was courage, there was the choice to act, with kindness and selflessness, no matter how small or ordinary it seemed. And in that simple, quiet evening on the porch, Mark realized something profound. The greatest acts of heroism were not in grand gestures or applause. They were in the steady, unwavering presence of love, in holding each other when fear strikes, in choosing to care, in being there. As twilight settled over their neighborhood, the family laughed, whispered, and simply existed together. Mark glanced at Sarah and the girls, feeling a deep, unshakable hope. They had survived fear. They had survived uncertainty. And through it all, they had each other. Sometimes the simplest moments were the most extraordinary, and sometimes love, steady, patient, and brave, was enough to carry a family through anything.